Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
When choosing a dentist for our family, Tupelo Smiles was the answer for us. They greet us with warm smiles right when we walk in the door, and they make us feel so welcome. We love Tupelo Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
The gloomy day continues as we get into the midweek portion of our work week, but hey, rainy days are ahead. But then beyond that, sunny skies will return. We have a lot to talk about coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 5. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynard, joined alongside Chief Meteorologist Matt Laupon, coming up here live from the Tanglefoot in just a moment. But let's go ahead and get into what we will be discussing here from the Room to Room Weather Center. Sprinkles possible for a few heading into those evening plans tonight. But as we get further into the forecast, those rain chances really start to climb and may impact a few of our playoff games. We are headed out to West Point to see Pontotoc take on the Green Wave. Should be a good one down there, but we're praying that that rain does hold off just a bit. And our final headline is an exciting headline, one that I just mentioned a moment ago. Matt joining us live on the Tanglefoot Trail with, of course, a few other guests as well. We'll go to him in just a moment. Let's first show what he's experiencing out there in the field. 6 p.m., 10% chance of rainfall, but it's those temperatures that are still the big story this week. We are in that mid to late November time frame. 73 degrees is not something we'd expect at that 6 o'clock hour, but as we get into those overnight hours, those mild conditions are not going anywhere. Definitely going to be abnormal for what we typically expect this forecast. 63, 61 degrees as we get out the door tomorrow morning, still with those lingering rain chances in our forecast. But Matt, like I mentioned, is live out on the Tanglefoot right now, riding down the trail. Matt, how are things feeling out there? I see the short sleeves are out. So is it November?
Mother Nature doesn't think it's November, but it definitely is. Yeah, I'm probably a little sweaty. God, I hope it doesn't show up like that on TV. Anyway, it has been warm enough that you could actually be today. I mean, would you agree with that, kids? Yeah. The Laupon children forced after school today to come onto the Tanglefoot Trail. One of them was excited. The other one, Penny, what'd you think? Did it turn out all right?
It got better than I thought.
Yeah, she's always worried I'm going to make her do like a 15, 20-mile ride. Today we did about 7, 8, right? 6, 7. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so we did a little bit of a ride. As you can see, though, some of the clouds behind us providing a couple of sprinkles that we had out there this afternoon and still kind of have into this evening. I'm going to see if I can make the gizmo. Oh, man. Let's see if we can make it go sideways here. There we are. Okay, there's a little structure here they want to check out, so we will stop for that. But Gabe, let's see if I can't keep myself on the side there, so go ahead and pop up the graphic for us, and I'll see if it'll hold it. 73 right now. Temperature feels like about 73. It's definitely felt a little warmer than that much of today. Our winds out of kind of a southwest direction at 5 miles per hour. We've needed a little bit of that wind. I'd say it's finally cooled down enough it's tolerable, right?
Yeah. Feels good.
Feels good? Feels good. It's the littlest Laupon thinks it's hot out there. I'm going to let them stop at this little play structure here. We're in the New Albany area along the Tanglefoot, and there's a lot of these little structures along the way. So this is just one that I think they want to go ahead and check out. Looking at those temperatures, about 76 right now in Houston, 76 degrees in Water Valley, 77 Cleveland. You know this weather can't last. We do have some significantly colder temperatures in the extended forecast with a pretty good system that we're watching. Still got some time for that. Gabe will touch on that. I've got a lot more detail coming up at 6 o'clock. But Mississippi Live Weather Radar coming in clear and dry at this instant as we show very little precipitation out there. I say that, and I reference those clouds. You can see, again, some good color in those down to the south of us here. We did have some sprinkles with that on us, but when I say some sprinkles, no more than 5. Let's zoom that in again, trying to look for a couple of those. And we'll do that with our meteorologist, Gabe Maynard, here as we kind of look. There's a few up there closer to the Boonville area we show there, really more Baldwin and Guntown. That largely looking like it's in pretty good shape there, closer to Marietta, though. I mean, this is sprinkles at most. If you're looking for meaningful moisture, one of the things I had talked to kids about was the fact that we are definitely still in a drought, despite the fact that we have had some rainfall around. And then again, we'll look again more at the wider shot, which has largely still high pressure in control of our overall weather pattern here at this instant. and likely to kind of continue that way for the next day or so. But we're starting to watch a front that's going to kind of try to nudge in from the north. The first sign of some rain chances that'll come in, and then more substantial ones with a front that eventually works in as well. So Gabe, let's go ahead and go a couple of graphics there, and we'll look in more detail at everything related to that forecast to come up here in a couple minutes. I guess we got the really wide shot there on radar. What do you think, Gabe? I'm gonna let you.
It's not pausing on it. Bear with me behind the scenes. I'm going to work on that.
Hey, don't worry about it. Hey, you know what? We'll handle that on main weather coming up here in a couple minutes. How about that?
Yeah,
we can let you jump ahead.
Main weather is going to break down in more detail, kind of that front you're talking about. So we'll talk about that coming up here in just a bit. So, but yeah. So
okay, yeah. So I'll have it coming up in a minute, but I'll let you come from here and we'll get it back. Get the train. This used to be a train track here on the Tanglefoot Trail, so this one not needing to get back on the track, but we'll get the overall show back on there, Gabe.
There and yeah, take lots of pictures because it looks absolutely amazing with that sunset behind you. So a big thank you once again, and a big thank you to your guests, Leo and Penny, for joining in on the broadcast. But yeah, we'll see you.
I'm sure they enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll see you coming up in just a moment. Don't have too much fun on that playground. I know you're going to get over there yourself in just a moment. So, yep,
yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, we'll see you in just a moment. Bringing it back here to the Room to Room Weather Center, we are tracking that front right over the top of us, like Matt was mentioning, giving us the ever so slightest chance of a few sprinkles into those overnight hours. That's really the extent of those rain chances. As we zoom things out, this isn't the main batch we are watching, but kind of the leading batch as we get into our midweek portion of the forecast. Our main system still out there towards Texas and bringing a good bit of moisture towards the New Mexico, Arizona, and soon to be West Texas area. But that will gradually work its way east into our neck of the woods by Thursday and really by Friday. And that's what we're talking about with some of those chances lingering enough to impact some of our football games. So high pressure off there towards the southeast, cycling in a little bit more of that moisture. That's why dew points are just a little bit higher than what we had yesterday. But this frontal boundary interacting with that increase in moisture, that's what's allowing for those rain chances to be in the forecast. But watch how these chances just really build over there towards Texas and New Mexico. Out here in North Mississippi, we're relatively calm. A little bit of those showers out there towards the north and northern Arkansas. Those continue to cycle up north as this front takes it away off there towards the Tennessee state line. So for the most part here in North Mississippi, staying dry overnight, but those gloomy conditions do remain in the area. Going to not be that picturesque forecast that we want whenever we're talking about the start of the day. And as we work into that 8 o'clock hour, some showers develop out there in the Delta, building in gradually as the day goes on. So make sure to have that rain gear handy. Chances not overly high, but 10 to 20% throughout the day, definitely a realistic possibility. 61 degrees heading out the door by 6 a.m. By the afternoon, back into the upper 70s with a few locations reaching into the low 80s once again. Really depends on where those showers develop, but we do expect along the Tennessee state line to be the highest chances for our rain chances as we get towards Thursday. We'll be looking at that in more detail with Chief Meteorologist Matt Laupon there in New Albany in just a moment, coming up in the next 60. But what we're also going to be tracking in the mobile room-to-room weather center is going to be those high school football forecasts. Playoff action happening this Friday. I mentioned we'll be in West Point, but what can you expect at your game? We'll have the latest on that forecast coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
This roof's getting installed with our premium roofing system. Backed by our 50-year warranty. And there's a 0% financing, no payment for 6 months options that this customer utilized. If you're looking for a new roof and you need an affordable option, call Absolute Restoration.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious when he began to discover weather. Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Well, as we take a look at that biking forecast, seeing Matt, Penny, and Leo just kind of inspired the forecast behind me right here. But 7 p.m. if you're looking to do a late night bike ride, still those 10% chances lingering in our forecast. 68 degrees though, that's not a bad temperature to get out and about and enjoy the great conditions we're experiencing. Again, it is November 19th. Not typical to expect this warm of weather, but we're going to enjoy it as long as it wants to stick around. 66 there by 9 and 65 by 11. I do want to say our Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon will have more on this forecast. He joins us live from the Tanglefoot as we continue our 5 o'clock broadcast.
And with the time change, man, it's getting dark earlier. We're working our way toward, of course, that shortest day of the year coming up, or at least the earliest sunset of the year. Live here along Tanglefoot Trail on the mobile room-to-room weather center in New Albany, and it's been a beautiful day for this. It's cooled off enough that it's a lot less hot at this instant, but we do expect we'll continue to probably have some pretty warm conditions next couple of days that'll kind of work ahead of a frontal system that's going to bring us some more meaningful rainfall eventually here. But showing up right now with those mid-70s at this time, our winds, remain pretty light here as we continue to have, again, these, mostly clear conditions. A couple sprinkles out there. More meaningful rainfall is eventually on the way. Latest here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, showing up in the mostly dry pattern. You see kind of where Gabe's zooming in there and up there toward around Baldwin area. Hey, how you doing? Good. Showing up again clear outside of that. And honestly, most locations, sprinkles probably not making it all the way to the ground. Sorry. Had to get my little gizmo out there a little farther so I'm not quite as big on the screen for a moment. But again, mostly dry outside of that as we are clear across much of the region. This front, though, has been kind of the question. Even going back to last week, we questioned, just exactly how much precipitation we were going to have related to that. As you can see there, very little is the quick answer. But I expect that, it's kind of a sign of the northern extent of some of the rain chances that do get a little bit more likely over the course of the next couple of days, as that's kind of the north side of our what we would call stationary boundary or warm sector. Okay, we're going to move fairly quickly through some of these, Gabe, as we advance them hour by hour this evening. As Gabe kind of already alluded, mostly dry, non-zero chance for a few showers. Winds remain relatively light as temperatures work through the mid-60s. I mean, come on, mid-60s normal this time of year. That's our 10 p.m. temperature for tonight. So that front, again, not impossible to get something popping up on that, but probably more than likely not going to see much there with temperatures. Uh-oh, we had a wreck. You okay? I got a thumbs up, so I guess that's a good sign. Okay, I'll wait for him to catch up here in a second. Again, near that front, maybe a sprinkle, not impossible. Go ahead and kind of fly through some of these over the next few hours here until we have some precipitation. As you'll notice, not expecting to have a whole lot as that retreats up to the north as we go into this evening and the overnight hours for early tomorrow. Now, we do show a few sprinkles. We'll stop you here for a second. Clarksdale, back there toward Cleveland. Again, most of that is relatively light, a few showers, but kind of a sign of that returning moisture on these southeast winds as we start the day close to where we should be for high temperatures in the afternoon. So certainly that is a warm start. Looking at those low temperatures, again, normal this time of year, considerably below where we're at here. Low 60s should be high temperature territory, and we'll be all the way in mid 60s there. Cleveland at 65 degrees in Greenville, and 65 in Belzona, with low 60s still around the Golden Triangle as well. So IMPC forecast. Oh man, that's what I should have done. Should have stopped by to see them. I think they're closed for tonight. Oh well, they have one in South Taylor, and of course one here in New Albany. 63 at pickup, or 79 degrees for that drop-off temperature later on in the pickup temperature, with rain chances kind of picking up a little bit into the afternoon. But notice how they remain fairly spotty and mostly relatively weak. So just a couple of isolated showers out there as we progress into and through the day, with slightly better chances, as you can see. I mean, honestly, they're just not a whole lot that are showing up there as we progress into the evening. And as we look at those temperatures, we're into the mid-70s out there, and that does continue into your into your Thursday evening. I'm already thinking weekend. We'll have that weekend forecast, which thankfully should be relatively drier once we get closer to that. High temperatures expected to be upper 70s and low 80s under what should be, again, mostly cloudy skies, with rain chances going a bit more on the increase. So here we are. Again, some spotty showers continuing into the evening. More often than not, we are going to end up being dry as we go into tomorrow night. But then rain chances become a lot more likely there by the early morning hours of Friday. Friday is probably our best chance for rainfall over the next at least 4 or 5 days. And you can see we have a little bit of yellow showing up on that. And then we don't. We have more oranges and reds as we progress into the morning. The timing of this Friday chance, and we're going to keep on the path here, Penny. So the chance, as we look there, maybe some thunderstorms there. You know, a week ago, it looked like it was not impossible. We could have some severe thunderstorms. And I would say, again, it's not impossible, but I would also say that's probably not the main mode of what we deal with here. This is mainly rainfall, certainly something that we still definitely need. And as we progress throughout that morning there, that is probably our peak timing to see some of that activity. You see, that wave kind of exits. We're hoping to keep it dry for some of those Friday night football games. I'm going to walk up from here. We're on that bridge in downtown New Albany, and apparently holding this, I can't walk and talk at the same time, ride and talk. But notice how as we go into the afternoon and the early evening there, a couple of storms, and we're hoping that doesn't impact our Mississippi Live Game of the Week down in West Point there, and then continuing to, again, as we head into the evening, have a few isolated sprinkles. So most of us are probably dry by that time, but models have been all over the place with this storm system, so I have a lower than usual level of confidence. So we're 74 for that temperature for the high in the Tupelo on Friday, about 76 degrees there in Columbus, 79 Belzona, and about 76 in Grenada. Again, rain chances probably peaking first part of the day. So here is that Mississippi Live Game of the Week forecast presented by Casey Lott and Langston Lott there. We're 69 degrees for that pregame temperature, halftime about 69. Is that rainfall chance that we're watching? 40% probably overdoing that coverage just a little bit, but we'd rather be pessimistic on that. Just so you're prepared, just in case that ends up being an issue where we do have some rainfall, maybe an isolated thunderstorm or two. So certainly keeping that in mind. Okay, so let's look ahead beyond that there. And as we check out the conditions, obviously, for tomorrow, we're going to be in the upper 70s with rain chances, maybe 20% or so. More often than not, again, this front is going to keep most of the moisture up to the north of us. As we check out the remainder of that 7-day forecast there, we're closer to the mid-70s with a greater quantity of showers arriving earlier on Friday. We're 74 degrees as we look towards Saturday and 70 degrees as we look towards Sunday. Again, drying out as we progress into the weekend. Extended forecast has more rain chances next week, but notice how we kind of keep still those 70s around even through Sunday into Monday and Tuesday. So this front that moves through and kind of brings us the rainfall is rather unimpressive with colder temperatures, one of the many confounding factors on how strong that boundary ends up becoming. And so as we look toward next week, we do think we have a more significant chance for some cooler temperatures behind that frontal system. Eventually, I want to pop, if you can, behind the scenes, Gabe, your mic up as we talk back and forth about next week for just a moment. One of the interesting things, though, is doing what we're doing now is social media has always been what social media is. And a lot of stuff going around social media, perhaps more than just flakes falling from the sky. As I bring in Gabe here for a second, no indications of that looking at the extended forecast today. Agree?
There was a single model run that everyone was hyping up about it, and everything else has completely gone.
That was yesterday, right?
That was yesterday at the 18Z run, and everything else has been primarily rain. Now, I do want to say cold temperatures are a realistic possibility heading into...
And that's the story, right? The colder temperatures that we're talking there.
For sure. So make sure you might need to bundle up a few layers as you get into that Egg Bowl forecast. But that's really the main story that I would say we need to be paying attention to as of now. But you were mentioning flakes falling. Well, leaves were falling behind you in the background. Penny had quite a pile getting together. So that's really the fall season.
That's what she loves to do. So, yeah, the fall season, I mean, that's what we kind of expect this time of year. So just one thing to keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of social media hype, I think, as we go through this winter season. Don't expect us to be, fronting hopefully any of that. But number one, don't expect us to necessarily address every one of those maybe chances, because most of the projections we look at over and over and over again show more leaves, obviously, than snowfall. And even if there's one or two runs where they end up showing that wintry white stuff, we hopefully can do the best job possible trying to cast, is this something that is believable at this point, or is this just, it's 2 weeks out, trash that gets you excited and doesn't actually yield anything. So that's one of the things that hopefully we'll be able to, with this forum, have a little more time to talk about from time to time. But anything you've seen on social media talking about white stuff or any confidence of that, just not there in the near term. But what is a beautiful shot here in New Albany as we're at the trailhead for the Tanglefoot Trail and the Lafon kids. Again, I'd say a little prayer if you would. Our sitter was sick today, hence the reason I'm kind of in dad mode and here instead of out at back at the television station, or kind of someplace else. This was just kind of the easiest way to keep them contained and still give the forecast to make it kind of interesting, hopefully, there. So, Gabe, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio live here in New Albany. Chief Meteorologist Matt Lafon from Mississippi Live Weather.
All right, so bringing it back here. Oh, I forgot to change the graphic. Fun times. Purple is the color of the day, I guess. So yeah, looking at that forecast, let me pull up a 7-day here real quick. We are going to continue to enjoy those gloomy conditions. I say enjoy with a grain of salt because it is not going to be that enjoyable looking up in the sky, but you did get a great sunset in New Albany, and a big shout out to Matt. I told him I think my multitasking would be maxed out if I had to ride a bike and give the forecast. So the fact that he was able to stay on 2 wheels, round of applause, because that was quite impressive. Well, as we get into the evening tonight, one of the best ways to stay prepared is with that Mississippi Live Weather app, free and available on iOS and Android today. Go ahead and give it a download, and it'll keep you updated on when those sprinkles, or if those sprinkles, are working through your area. We'll keep a tally on that and tracking those coming up at the 6 o'clock hour, and of course, latest model runs coming out at 10. Keeps you updated on the latest forecast here in North Mississippi and really getting into that playoff action. I know we all want to stay informed, and we also have SEC games this weekend. We'll look at those forecasts coming up at the 6 o'clock hour as well. You guys have a great evening. We'll see you back here very shortly, live from the Room to Room Weather Center.
Hate is loud, but love is the majority.